Hello there, everybody. How you doing? We're here tonight. Special event. I'm pretty excited. We got together quite a few members of the wrecking crew here. Some of the, core members, I would say, of the wrecking crew here. We're going to be talking. Somebody got to mute YouTube there.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry about that.
But we're here, pretty excited to be here. You guys know, obviously, Jamie from last night when we were talking about with Jay Jackson, talking about the Central Park 5 and Brendan and Devontae Sanford. So he's here. We're here with Allie. We're here with Denise Rainey. We're here with Julie Pom Pom. We're here with Linda K. Jello Shots. No, Linda K. listening over on YouTube.
Listen, Linda.
So I'm pretty excited to be here with my group. With my core group. So you guys are all very well versed in this case. Now, Allie's been a little bit sick, so she's not as up on everything as she would like to be. But trust me, Allie, she'll be there very quickly. But she's gonna sit in with us and talk with us about some of the stuff. I think because she is going to Raleigh, right? You are going to Raleigh, right?
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
So she's gonna be there. So hey, so that's another reason why we got together. But we are actually going to talk a little bit about the case tonight. Not just talk here and everything about senseless nonsense. Okay, so how you guys doing?
Don't make that promise. You never know where this conversation will go. This could go off the rails any second. You never know.
Yeah, you're not on my channel.
Yeah. I'll be trying to rein it in as best I can, folks.
Yeah, good luck.
I'll be good. I'll be good.
I need it.
I'm going to be a wild card tonight. I ain't going to lie.
Yeah, well,
Are you
he was talking about
Jamie?
does that mean Jim Beam?
calligraphy.
Calligraphy.
Yep, he's talking about calligraphy now.
We're going full potato.
You're not classy enough for calligraphy, Jamie. I already told you that.
When you can talk in Braille, then you're living, man.
Well, that's me. That's me. I type in Braille.
There you go.
I'm blind to it,
All right. So, for those of you who don't know, pretty much everybody you see here, with the exception of Jamie and Julie, have YouTube channels y'all can go check out. So, you should do that at some point. I'm really interested in yours, by the way, Denise. I just kind of really discovered it recently and was checking it out. So, I'm digging that. So, I'm going to be checking yours out a little bit more.
She's really good. She's real good.
Yeah, definitely. That one, that got me. But that one that you posted about the lady who was basically trying to record the abuse that she was suffering so that she could use that, to say, look, this guy, and to end up recording her own, it was just like,
That's
whoa,
insane.
wow, that was powerful.
That son of a bitch made bail yesterday.
Oh wow.
Right.
Yeah. He goes back to court on Tuesday. But they haven't.
That recording's going to be
right
admissible.
now, he's only being charged with third-degree domestic assault. They haven't upped his charges, so we'll have to see what happens.
That recording's going to be admissible, though, right? Or have they ruled on that yet?
Nope.
They haven't ruled on that yet?
Okay.
Wow. We're going to have to create a room for that in Discord. We're going to have to keep up with that one.
I hope they do.
Insane.
That one really gets me, dude. Hearing what happened, knowing it right there because she recorded it. I know why she was recording it. I know she wasn't recording it to catch them murdering her. And so that makes it all the more like, you mother,
Yeah, exactly. And the problem was he's so drunk. He was so drunk, he didn't even know what happened at that time. Like, he didn't realize. He kept telling them, oh, we weren't fighting. We weren't fighting. And the problem we're going to have is with the media. Because they were at the Cardinals game and then they went to Ballpark Village. So the the Cardinals are going to want to hush that. They're not going to want to be associated with that, but they're going to be. So I imagine that any sort of I'm going to have to dig through, our case net, which I've done, but finding anything through the media, especially here, is not going to happen.
Oh yeah, I know that firsthand.
Yeah.
So we just had a crazy one. I'll bring it up because that one. So I woke up this morning. You guys all know that I do a lot of stuff with barbecue. One of the guys that started the food truck, kind of the craze here in Fargo, does barbecue stuff. He got murdered this morning.
Oh my God.
He was ready for. He was cooking food late at night, getting stuff ready and got murdered.
Oh my gosh.
They already caught the guys, but this is a guy I've been to his food truck. I'm all the stuff that's going on everywhere just blows me away. It's crazy. Just like Denise's case with or not Denise's, but the
Right.
the parking ramp situation. We're in a crazy world now.
Yeah,
Everything's different.
it's so many cases. Jeez.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but that definitely, when I watched that one, just hit me because I was just like, oh, she didn't mean to record her own demise. And that's what it ended up being.
And they to read that initial statement where they said you can hear it and you can hear her. No.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
It was just, to me, I was pretty powerful when I watched it. I was just like, I don't know. I don't get to the I can't. It's like I watch it and I go, and it infuriates me.
Yeah, and that's it.
But I find something constructive
what I'm
to
saying
do
I
with that
can't about is when
infuriated.
they release that tape and you can hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But I
don't
want to hear
think
it, but I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's a weird-
It's like listening to 911 calls. Like I was listening to one today, and it was this little girl, and she was calling on her dad beating on her mom, and they went through this whole thing where the lady got, pushed, and this little girl's telling the 911, operator, and she's screaming, and it went on for like 17 minutes, and they finally got in the car, and the dad, wasn't going to let him go, and they're screaming, "Dad, stop, stop!" And well, then he jumped on the car when they were leaving, and he was hanging on the window, and he fell off, and they ran over him and killed him. And this little girl is screaming, "Oh, my dad is dead. They killed him." Well, they did charge the lady at first, and 3 weeks later they dropped the charges because of the 911 call,
Wow.
So, yeah, it's scary stuff.
There's a lot of scary things out there. There was that one that somebody told me about. I forget. I think it was somebody from Australia was telling me about it. But anyway, it was here. This lady had called the police because somebody was like doing something around her side door or something. So she called the police. Police car showed up. She was like really grateful to see the.
Is that where he shot her?
And then for some
from
reason,
the car. That was in Minnesota.
In her nightgown, and he knows that somebody has called from this location. She's in her nightgown, and somehow he shoots her. I mean, like, I'm to this day, when I heard about that one and kind of looked into it a little bit, I was like, how did he get from, I mean, he knows car. Or how does he somehow see the lady in the nightgown as a threat? How did he
shot her from his car?
Well, that's what I mean. It's like,
yeah.
Yes, but she also slapped the back of the police cruiser, and that startled him.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that, Jamie, but he only got 12 years.
Yeah. That was the
all the way up to his vehicle without him being aware of it. What the hell was he doing?
It was in Minnesota, so
they were both the officers were in the car.
Both of them doing.
Yeah.
They were both in the car, and she actually walked up from behind the car and she slapped the back of the police cruiser, and that startled the guy. I'm not saying he's right that he shot her,
right?
But I mean, in the U.S., you don't go and slap a police cruiser, and cops are. You definitely don't want to creep up on them here in the U.S. I mean, they do. They are easily.
But Jamie, I never even got to in Minnesota because it was a case here. We got like 2 minutes airtime on the news.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding you, and that's because the Twins are doing so good. They don't want the, what I mean, like what Denise was saying about them having, it's selective media. So I didn't even know that, Jamie. The last I heard, I seen one thing where he was being charged, where he went to court, where they tried to talk down the sentencing, and then him being sentenced, and that's it. It's like 2 minutes on the news.
Yeah,
it was not local.
Up here as well.
Yeah, it was.
But that was one thing that I heard about that case, that's what startled him, and that was from some of the initial reports was, she had slapped the back of the car to get she was trying to get their attention. I'm not saying she was doing something wrong.
I'm just wondering what the hell they were doing. If they pulled up there and were parked there long enough for her to walk up to the vehicle, and they, I mean, were so much in their own little bubble that they had no idea that a lady in a nightgown was approaching their vehicle. I mean, if they're there because it's a dangerous situation potentially, what are they doing? I mean, that's what I'm wondering, because they clearly weren't paying attention to their surroundings, because otherwise they clearly would have seen her coming up behind their car. You know what I mean?
Well, and the other thing that's a bad thing is
it's anti against. I mean, they're there because there's a potential perp, right?
Yeah.
So they should be on guard for their own safety just by default.
Yeah, she was from Australia, so yeah, right, Michelle. She was. She was from.
Right.
She was an Australian lady named Sharon something, I do believe. I'm not quite sure.
That strikes me odd about it. So
the other thing that's odd, I guess, to me is I look at how police officers are trained. He shot across his partner. He was in the passenger seat. Mm-hmm. He shot across his partner's body, and that's usually not something that. I mean, anybody that is used to weapons, you don't shoot across the body. I mean, I could just imagine both their ears ringing in that car.
Right.
Jamie, don't you know that's the way they do it here in Minnesota? Look at that guy that had the conceal. You know, they shot across his girlfriend. Yep. Now they shoot across the part. You know, they just don't. I don't know what they're training them. It used to be, you know, shoot to harm and disarm. Now it's shoot to kill. You know, so it's. I understand you know, that it's a dangerous job, but there takes a little bit more than the split second. I got to save my life when there's somebody with no weapon, or, you know, just like touching a car, or, you know what I'm saying? There needs to be a little bit more thought process there. And I think maybe if they went in and got some psychological thing every 6 months, they wouldn't get this big badge. I'm a big badge holder, you know, because some of them just get that. I don't care. I rule, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Michelle is correct. It was a domestic violence call.
Yeah. So, I mean, no matter what, you would think they should be on guard by default. And it seems like, you know, what were they doing? I mean, part of me wonders, like, if they were like sitting there doing some coke that they had just taken off of some drug dealer or something.
Yeah.
And she walked up
some joints. Yeah, exactly.
And, like, they were like, oh, shit.
It's like in LA, you know, like the Rampart scandal. Where they were stealing all the drugs out of the evidence locker and trying to sell them or use them or whatever the hell they wanted to do with them.
Right.
I didn't even know that. But I don't doubt it.
Yep.
I didn't know about it, but I don't doubt it. No, but I don't doubt it. You know what I'm saying?
Suge Knight was all caught up in all that.
You'll see it.
Oh, wow. Suge Knight. Oh, okay. Suge Knight. Well, you guys forget I lived under a rock outside of about maybe a year and a half ago. You know, because I didn't know half this stuff went on. It's just crazy to me.
Right on. Okay. So, to talk about a little bit about making a murderer here, there is something pretty exciting going on at the moment over in the UK. We have Dean Strang, Jerry Buting, Laura Nyrider, Stephen Drizzen in the same place at the same time, doing a talk, kind of like what Paul and I and Stacy went down to Australia to see with Nyrider, Drizzen, and Rudolph. But over in the UK right now, those lucky buggers, they are getting to see all four of them together. So, you know, that's pretty
Strain
cool.
and Buting. They get them all.
Yeah, right? Your guys' trip was a couple months too late. Or too early, sorry.
Well, hey,
I would
who knows?
love to see that.
It could be, but by this time next year, in 2020, when I'm making plans to travel again, it may be that they might be in the UK when I go that way. It looks like, because that's where I'm probably headed next, is Scotland. So,
lucky you.
But that's
I'd love to see their show.
Next year. I'm not even thinking about the next trip right now. I got other things to worry about before I start thinking about my next trip, because as contrary to popular belief, I am not getting rich on YouTube. And so
really,
I really do have to get certain things in order before I can think about doing any more traveling in the future. So
you're a normal Joe, just like all the rest, right?
I'm, I have to put my pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else.
Yep. I can only imagine what that show would be like.
You know, you're sitting there in gym shorts. Don't play.
I'm actually in my cargo shorts at the moment, though.
Lord.
But I love that you remembered that. So anyway.
Oh, I remember all sorts of little things.
She's gonna join us with all of them.
I remember the weirdest things. Don't you worry. If you
know.
forget, I will remind you. Don't worry.
There you go. So it's pretty exciting that this is happening. Obviously, I'm gonna hopefully be talking to Jane Sharp tomorrow. Hopefully, gonna get her on live to talk. She took some pretty vigorous notes while she was there and stuff. So I'd love to hear what was getting talked about personally. So hopefully that's a little tidbit for tomorrow that we'll have. Hopefully, I'm waiting for Jane to get back to me on that. So
God, I can imagine.
That would be fun, right? I mean, I'd love to hear what Dean and Jerry and Laura and Steve were all getting together and saying.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it because I admire all of them very much, and Jerry and Beauty and Strain. I don't know, can't remember their names, the first names, but I remember their last names. But they're really interesting. I've read a lot of articles about them.
Yeah.
And they've come to Minneapolis a lot actually to do those convention or whatever, those talks, whatever they're doing
for their foundation.
They come here a lot to the university, and I've never been able to see them, but I'm gonna try next time they come because I know they'll be here again, and I really want to go see them. So
yeah, awesome.
That's kind of cool.
I want to go see Dean and Jerry at some point too. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was really extremely interesting to get to hear David Rudolph. I mean, David Rudolph.
Oh, I would love to see
him.
him.
Very interesting guy, and some of the things he said had my head spinning. Like when he said that he tried to create these free seminar things for the judges there in South Carolina where he paid for. He set it up to have these forensic people come in and explain really the difference between quality and believable forensic science and the difference between less
junk
credible
science.
Yeah. And so he offered to have these little things for these judges and stuff to come and sit and learn, and they all were like, nope, I don't want to do that. Why should I have to do that? Right? Basically, like, whatever. Why? And when I heard that, I was just like, really? Come on.
Why would they want to learn?
This is why our justice system is stuck right now. You know, where it is. It's like we can't move forward. We got all these stats from the Innocence Projects piling up, telling us that the percentages on things are pretty scary and that we're not really hitting the mark. And yet the system is just somehow very lethargic to respond.
They're really backdated. They're backdated. They don't want to learn.
Well, what I think about that is that they think, obviously once you go from being a lawyer and making it to a judgeship position, I think they honestly think in their heads that they've learned everything that they could. What more can somebody teach them? And it's an arrogance.
Yeah, I know, right? It is an arrogance because the march of time is the march of time. I don't care what you think you know. 10 minutes from now, you could not know it. Or, a week from now, a year from now, you could forget it. Or whatever it is. Or
it's not even about forgetting.
It could have completely changed, and what you know is no longer relevant.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to say. 10 minutes from now, what just happened means nothing because things have changed, period. Right. Things are evolving. You kind of got to roll with it.
Exactly. And so for judges to be that rigid in their thinking that they don't think they have any room for improvement.
Right.
Despite I mean, like I said, look at the data coming out of the Innocence Projects. 1 in 4 murder convictions involves a coerced confession. I mean, that's staggering. That's that's wild. And
Don is actually asking a question about did you get anyone to go to Eagle Nation on Friday with you? Not to change the subject, but that's good question.
Scooby's supposed to be meeting me there.
Linda, correct?
And Linda, I believe, is going to be there. Julie, I don't know if she's going to be able to. She's got a busy day, but she might maybe be able to on her way to pick up who she has to pick up. But I don't know. That's up to everybody, obviously. But I do know Scooby is saying she'll be there. Linda. There were some other people who said that they'll meet me there. They sent me messages whose names are escaping me at the moment. My head is full of so many things right now, but and some things are slipping. But yeah, I think I have probably about 3 or 4 people confirmed. So, and I was hoping, obviously, like Denise and
Yeah,
and
it
Allie
depends on
might be
what
able to
I
show up
plan on
there.
leaving here as early as possible. So it just depends on what time I get there. You know, if I get
And you're
there in
coming.
time, absolutely.
What state? What state? You're in Michigan,
I'm in Missouri.
Missouri.
I'm
Oh,
in
that's an insult right there.
You want to go out?
Okay, so you're coming from the south, right? Okay, so I don't know. Anyway, we're in Neenah. If that's on your way through, you can obviously, like I said, it's going to be we're going to be there roughly between the time of like 10 and noon, 10 and 1
Yeah.
on Friday. So just so you know.
Yep. I'll see what time I get out of here.
And any other members of the Wrecking Crew are going to Wisconsin, obviously you can meet us in Neenah at Eagle Nation Cycles at 10
Or
o'clock.
any others that may be watching can meet you there too. I would assume.
That's what I was saying. Anybody that's coming, most of the people that are coming have ordered their Wrecking Crew T-shirts. So that's why I was saying that. But
Are
which
they
the-
okay with
which
the
I can't wait to get I can't wait to get there to get mine, honestly. So anyway.
are they okay with a bunch of us being there, like hanging out?
They're all for it. They were asking me how many were going to be there. They're hoping for as many of the of my crew to be there as possible. So there's going to be a big lunch there because it's their Friday where they actually do serve a lunch. They do a lot of stuff for the kids in the area there, local stuff there. They have an actual little skate park down in the basement where the kids come there to skate and hang out and with the ramps. So
I'll definitely be there. My girlfriend's a big bike fan. She's been following it, so we're going to be there.
It's going to be fun. I'll be going live from there, and we'll be talking with them for probably about an hour, maybe a little longer or so. Who knows? Be talking with Steve and some of the folks there. Some of the people who are actually there, they said some of the hostages will be there, so we'll hopefully get to talk to 1 or 2 of them. And so there, all that. That's something to look forward to coming up. Jeez, real close now. 6 days. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool, Tracy.
Denise. So if I'm
So-
riding with Denise and she can get there in time, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So, like I said, and we'll be there. They said
Yeah.
around noon is when the food is. So, if you even get there by noon and just show up for some food, we'll still love to see you. So,
Don,
I'll be
I
up
just
there
wanted
early,
to
probably.
address something that Don just said. There aren't
Yes,
going
sorry.
to be any extra Kose Wrecking Crew rally T-shirts.
the time's up on that, right, Julie?
Oh yeah, time was way up on that.
Yeah, so that's
There's no way you would receive it in time if you ordered it now.
Talking about getting a shirt from Eagle Nation. I think that's what he's referring to.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe he would, because I know that
He
Don
started
was
the
looking for.
conversation about Eagle Nation, so I'm thinking that's what he's saying. That's my
T-shirt from Eagle Nation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Don, if you'd like, message me on Messenger. I'm pretty sure you know how to do that. Remind me of it, and I'll let you know how much it is and whatever. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, but so that should be fun. I mean, we'll be going from Eagle Nation. That's the Eagle Nation thing, the whole Michael Funk thing. I mean, God, it's a heartbreaking thing, and
It is.
it's just terrible. I mean, what happened to Michael Funk? I mean, and ordinarily I would agree that it was a understandable mistake, as tragic as it is, or whatever. But I can't in this case because Hoffer shouldn't have been there.
Oh, he brags about it.
As soon as he was hit, he should have never been there. In fact, it was ordered twice to stand down, and then goes on proceeds to tell the next commanding officer he runs into that he was cleared. And it's like, and so this is what I see, and I go, no, this guy got hit, so he had a chip on his shoulder. I mean, and then
that's what I initially said. Eye for an eye. He was going like,
Well,
come for me, bitch. I'm stepping to the plate. I think that's what it was.
And then Travis says, well, here in Austin, if you get hit like that, you automatically have to stand down. If you don't, and if you don't stand down, and you'll end up facing reprimand, and you lose your pretty much 99% of the time, you automatically lose your job. I was like, dude, that's what they should be doing here because this guy clearly went back in with a chip on his shoulder.
Well, he bragged about it. You know, he was bragging about it.
When you see that video of them coming in, dude, and you can see just how badly they were just three stooges bungling it, tripping over each other, just, you know, didn't come in under control and ended up kind of, you know, making a pig's ear of it. And instead of owning the fact that they may have not done it quite right, they tried to claim that everybody in there was a shooter.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, no, look at the video. You telling me that guy? You telling me that guy that's hitting the concrete, you know, with his belly, and with his hands over, you know, over his head and palms out, and you know, I go, you're telling me that guy's, you know, a shooter? You're telling me there's no hostages in there? It's just like, anyway. So it's like
they're coming to get us,
you know. So, but technically, by the law, Hoffer's going to get away with that. I just think it's wrong. I think the people of Wisconsin should institute something like what Travis says they have in Austin, Texas, to protect themselves from this kind of situation where a potential officer with a chip on his shoulder can go trying to be a vigilante, you know, and end up causing even more pain and suffering. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel, you know, about that.
Just the fact that they were like kind of bragging it up and saying, "Oh, they were after us. It was sure a setup. They were just they were gunning for us." All that talk, you know.
And I've shown you guys the footage of the inside, right? I mean,
yeah, it's clearly it's not right, but it's legally they're protected.
Well, in that moment, he sees a man with a gun. A jury is gonna find that it was reasonable. That's what it comes down to. There's a lot of jury instruction that goes into analyzing this and everything. Yeah. So jury has a very, very, you know, limited parameters in which they're allowed to look at it. And basically,
basically the jury's going to be told the cops are right. So just go with that. That's what it's going to boil down to.
As a cop,
any sort of fancy legal word you want to, but at the end of the day, that those instructions say the cops were right.
Exactly. Right. But as a cop, you should, I mean, come on, it should be your first thing to say something like freeze, because that one word for 2 seconds out of his mouth could have saved a whole lot of trouble. Because I think that guy would have dropped recently,
where it showed in an interview he did, he actually says he thought he said it before. You know, his eventual official story is
that he said
didn't
freeze?
Do it because it was tactically unsound. It's like he can't make up his mind.
He was a block away behind a building.
Yeah. It's unreal. It's unreal.
With all SWAT gear on, and he's a guy rolling out, you know, might be injured, hiding clearly from somebody, only trying to get to his house across the alley, and he's gunned down without a single word that could have been shot. Before he pulled that trigger, he could have said, freeze. That guy would have, I have no doubt that guy would have dropped his gun and went like that.
Yeah, because in the most recent video I did too, I showed where DCI agents watched the video and basically laid out their assessment of what they thought they saw. And
there was enough time between that when he was out.
I'm sorry?
But there was enough time when he went behind that. There was a lot of time before
there was a
he went behind there, and they shot him.
He's actually, what he does is he gets behind that truck and he reaches in and gets his concealed weapon off of his right hip. And he's pulling that out. And that's what Hoffer's seeing when he says he saw a glint of silver.
But he's still facing that way.
But Mike, Funk is focused at that back door. Okay, and so this is why I think it's important. When DCI was watching the tape and they were analyzing it, they basically said, well, it looks to us like he came out and he was looking at the back door. He was afraid of the back door. He was reaching for, it appears that he was reaching for a weapon, judging by the motions of his arm and what was going on, and the fact that we know that he had an empty holster on him when he was eventually, you know, picked up and stuff, right? So they go, it looks like he's reaching for a weapon, but it looks like he's very much focused on the rear door of Eagle Nation Cycles because he's afraid maybe that somebody's going to be coming out of that, and it looks like that's his focus. And it's like these DCI agents are looking at it going, yeah, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's enough time to say
that's why I'm so much more pissed off that's why Hoffer shouldn't have been involved, because even some of his fellow officers on the scene kind of were looking at it and thinking that was what was happening.
Well, his commander goes, I hope you don't kill anybody. He goes, I did. And he went, oh. You
Yeah,
could
when
just
he's so
see.
happy about it, about ready to dance a freaking jig, you know?
Yeah, and his commander's going,
yeah.
You didn't kill anybody. Oh, I did. And he goes, oh, and you didn't, just camera went off when he went, oh, you know, he was like upset. That commander was upset. And he thought, oh, here we go. It's going to start an investigation. It's going to this, it's going to that, which should be. Because if you ask me, there was plenty of time for that police officer to say to them, freeze. You know, it just was enough time, I think.
Right, Don. Sorry, guys. So anyways, we're going to be at Eagle Nation on Friday. That's going to be kind of fun. And, you know, a little bit of a breakup with the monotony, but it's also in Wisconsin, folks. So it's,
yeah.
You
know, it's where Krasinski's from.
Yeah.
Nina. Oh,
yeah.
meow, meow.
In fact, one of the people that I'm going to be meeting there actually has had dealings with Lynn. I guess they used to even be on each other's Christmas card list for a while until Lynn became too deplorable to tolerate, I guess, maybe. Anyway. But so, but from what I understand, they're not exchanging the Christmas cards anymore. But anyway.
Oh, darn.
So,
I bet they're just brokenhearted.
No more meows. Hey, you might miss out on some of the kitty cat cards, right? Yeah.
I'm actually expecting mine from him this year.
Good old Lynn. Him and his cat toy. So, anyway. Yeah, that's just bizarre, dude, that guy. And it's like, it's the gift that keeps on giving. The black eye that keeps on happening to Wisconsin.
Did he get to bring his little kitty toys with him to his jail cell or what? Maybe he made some out of his slippers.
You ain't gonna see any jail cell, you know. That's the one thing. It's run the legal system is run by lawyers for lawyers in a lot of ways. It's supposed to be for us, but the lawyers are the ones running it. They're lawyers and eventually become judges. So it's all a big lawyer network. So they very rarely ever, choose to get each other in trouble. They basically they're more inclined to look the other way for each other.
Yeah, it's the ladder that they have that each.
Which explains how King Kratz got out of his thing. Anyway. So.
Yeah. It's a ladder that has each thing that they have to do to climb it.
And it always boils down to it's not what you know to you know.
Exactly.
If you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's
right.
The way the world. That's the way the politics work.
Yeah. And, Kratz, good old Kratz. So.
Bad old Kratz. I wonder if he's going to come for the guilters.
I was on Twitter today, and I saw AC had a tweet, and it said he prefaced it by saying, me and Kratz going at it or whatever. They showed a little basketball court with like two teenage kids, and one guy goes dribbles it behind the guy's back, gets it, like puts it up and like misses, but gets his own rebound, does another little tricky dribble, totally fakes the guy out, and then ends up putting the shot in. And so it's like, and he's making fun of how he kind of had Kratz going in circles and everything. I thought it was great. It was a really funny tweet. You guys should go check it out if you haven't already. But really funny. AC is the guy that did the convicted murderer interview with Kratz.
Yeah, I'm in that Twitter part with them guys.
What is the corner? Did they kick the body? Deb also had a forensic anthropologist, which is the thing you said you needed. So how you explain that one there, Kenny boy?
Did she just kick the bones then?
Well, it looks like they did anyway. The ones that got pictures of.
When I was doing those recent videos, and then suddenly we get that thing from Jerry where he says, "Oh yeah, well, Deb was about ready to show up with a forensic anthropologist." He's saying that's what he needed. There it was, but yet she was turned away, right? So it's like,
exactly.
So it just makes it look even more foolish.
Just another one of those 80 more things there.
But which is ironic because he was trying to make AC seem foolish, but really in the end, he's the one that was made to look like the fool.
Educate him. Yeah, right, Kratz. You couldn't educate your own self.
I'm like, oh,
I just had a discussion with a couple
that's your
people
teaching
last
method,
night.
Kratz? Right on, dude. Good teaching method, dude.
He's trying to educate Leah, and he can't do that either. So let's get real.
Maybe him and Leah smoke crack. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
know.
He had to kick her a few times first.
I had a conversation last night with a couple people in reference to Kratz's narcissistic. I kind of want to say outbursts or just tendencies that you definitely see it there. That's actually one of the points where you actually see him, and I haven't seen it on Twitter, but others have posted, and I've seen those here. But his narcissistic tendencies really come out when AC is actually talking to him. That's the first time you see him blow up,
Right.
and go back at somebody. Otherwise, it's always the being calm, the soft voice, controlling.
Sweaty.
Tunnel vision. He's like, what tunnel vision? Well, because this and that, blah, 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 tunnel vision. No, it's not tunnel. Yeah, because it's tunnel vision. And you're just watching Kratz. Dude,
he was sweating, boy.
About to explode. You know what I mean?
He was sweaty one that day. Sweaty Kratz can't answer the questions. Poor sweaty Kratz couldn't answer a question.
Dude, seriously.
If that actually does get to production, I'm sorry, I will pay to watch it because I just want to see AC just start to rip them apart even more. That I would pay for that.
I'm gonna watch Convicting a Murderer. Absolutely, I'm gonna watch it. I mean,
do you think they're going to edit it though, so that it's not going to show?
I don't know how much of that. Yeah, I don't know how much of that. I think it's like he was actually in there with AC for, I think something like
4 hours,
6 hours or 8 hours.
It was a long time.
Yeah, so I doubt we're gonna get all that.
Wow, that's a long time.
No, I'll even buy the blooper reel.
You'll share it. Right?
That might be worth some. That might be worth some money.
Convicting a Murderer should understand that footage they have right there is gold by itself. They could take just the Kratz and AC footage and put that out as like a Convicting a Murderer featurette to go along with the main presentation, and they would both sell.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Because that's how much people hate Ken Kratz, and they would love to see him squirm, and that's what he's. I mean, I'd love to see.
He needs to. He does. He deserves to.
So
I can't wait till KZ gets him on a stand or something. She could do that, right?
Brings up the topic that you brought up, and I know we're not at the end. We just kind of got started, but the sabbatical part.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it kind of leads into that a little bit about what we're talking about is him going on sabbatical right as we're to that deadline for the first part. We got 30 more days if they don't accept it. But so everybody in chat, what's your thoughts on the sabbatical?
Exactly.
Of Fallon.
If Tracy's still here, she did. Somebody asked her about it in her group, and she posted her response. But if she's still here, I would like to hear her.
Oh, she was in here?
That again. She
Yeah,
was.
Tracy was here.
Yeah, I don't know if she's
I didn't see her. She'll say, "I'm here" if she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don Ethan, what's your thoughts on Fallon's sabbatical? Do you think it's stall tactic? Do you think he was forced to do it?
Okay, well, some people might not know what that means, Jamie, like me, and I don't care if I sound dumb or not, but I didn't really know what that meant, and some people might not. So explain what it is.
Well, a sabbatical?
Yeah,
yes.
Probably typing.
Okay.
Tracy's still here.
So sabbaticals are they're a leave of absence, and I would believe, being he's a government official, it's probably a paid sabbatical. Most sabbaticals are. It's used a lot in the corporate world. It's like R&R, rest and relaxation time. If you've been with a company for say 15 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, they used to actually force people to take these sabbaticals just to reboot, and it could be 30, 60 days, whatever.
Hey, Jamie.
Yeah.
So I looked it up on Google, and it says a period of paid leave granted to a university teacher or other worker for
Okay,
steady,
well,
I thought it
for
was teacher.
study or travel, traditionally 1 year for every 7 years worked.
Wow, he's
Yeah.
out forever now.
the 7 year mark is actually
Subpoena for pulling him back.
Yeah.
So
the 7 year mark is actually correct. Just because I know a big corporate IT company that used to do that. It's gone away now, but it was after you've been there for 7 years, they forced you to take a sabbatical, but it wasn't a year. And
Well, even go ahead.
Linda?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and
I
Michelle
was just
just
gonna
said
say,
it. Michelle just said this too. I kind of think the same thing. I think he's been told to take this sabbatical.
that's what I
And
said.
yeah,
I think it's arrogance, basically, that they didn't wait until the decision came through of Judge Succathis to deny the decision. That they're doing this before it gets actually. I mean, a little bit premature before this actually gets sent back to the appellate courts again, right?
yeah,
So it's to me it looks like a little bit of arrogance on their part too to try to rile people. I think possibly so.
sure.
But like I said,
Yeah,
it's
he
literally
also
just
needs
leaving
to
3
get,
days
he
early.
needs to get out of Wisconsin before all these supporters show up there. He was
well.
like, "Get me the hell out of here! Get me a ticket. I don't want to run into nobody. It's all too convenient."
Yep, exactly. He is,
Subpoena will still draw his ass back. So
And the funny thing is that they
Another
think
thing
people
where
are stupid.
they need him to shut up because honestly, he keeps fucking up. Sorry, wrong channel. But like,
wrong channel.
screwing up. And so, I mean, they need him to shut up. So they got him
That's
out
what
of
I
there.
said. I said it. Like I said, I think they told him, "Hey, I think you need a little vacation there, buddy. Why don't you take a vacation?" It's probably recommended by Mr. Butt Collar himself.
Mr. What?
Mr. Butt Collar, you know, Butt Dialer.
Mark Williams.
Mark Williams.
Okay.
I have a question that I would like to ask Tracy while she's here, and she actually just answered. She said, "I'm not drawing any conclusions from it since there could be a lot of reasons to take a sabbatical. There's nothing for him to do at this point since the case is most likely going back to the Court of Appeals."
Right. Which is
She
why I
said
said.
and he's not an attorney of record on the appeal. He hasn't been removed from the circuit court case, so I don't think much of it until I get more info.
Yeah,
It
I
could
read
be
that.
because of the Avery case, but it could have nothing to do with it. So my question is this.
If it's a year, I could see this case coming back for an evidentiary hearing before that. That's what
I would
I'm
hope so.
But now, Tracy,
I
do
hope so.
you not think it's ironic that this is happening so close to the response time?
Very coincidental.
It's okay. Stop. We do this every night.
That's what I thought. I was just, they could have waited until the actual decision came in. I mean, this kind of maybe suggests that they're telegraphing. I don't know. That's just kind of the way it struck me, possibly. So,
Or that it's
not that it's
completely
dead,
unrelated.
not that it's anything necessarily earth-shattering, not that it makes any terribly big difference, really. But
and at the end of the day, it could be totally unrelated. It's just they have this
Exactly.
history of doing things at the most bizarre times, so you can't help but question it.
Sure.
Exactly. Good point, Denise. Exactly.
yeah,
And
so it is.
Tracy said,
Is flipping out because she can hear you guys, and she's like pacing, looking for you. It's okay.
Hey
Relax.
there, puppy.
Mine is doing the same thing, man. So that's why I keep muting
She's like,
myself.
where are the people?
So,
Give me
Don Ethan, it was released earlier this week, the email, and I did not look at the date of when he went on sabbatical, but it's been very recent. It was he responded to an email saying that he was going to be on sabbatical for what did he say, for quite a bit of time, but I did not look at the date of when he actually filed the paperwork or sent that email.
It just said a considerable amount of time, didn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Right.
stop. They're not going to get you.
Julie, what was your question?
I was just saying that I'll just ask Tracy later. It's not related to the sabbatical. I didn't want to change the subject.
Oh, that's all right. We're done with the sabbatical now.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Bring it up, sister. What you got?
So, okay, let me start that again. If we don't get a response from Judge Angie on Monday, is it safe to assume that she is considering the response and reply then? Or will we know that she has requested or told the chief judge that she's taking more time? Like, is that something that we will know about? Or is that something that we're just not going to have any idea why the heck?
Well, you know, Kathleen Zellner did point out.
It's one of the two.
Kathleen Zellner did point out that they might need as much time as possible to try to write a decision that wasn't going to get kicked back, right back in their face. So maybe they will be needing some time to. You know.
And they might, but there are two reasons that I can see why we would not get a response on Monday. The first one would be that she's considering the response and reply. Right. The second one would be that she said she's taking more time. So right. Are we going to know which one it is, or are we just going to be guessing?
I think it's a done deal that it's a denial. If she takes more than the 90 days, she has to notify the chief judge, but
we wouldn't see it.
We wouldn't see it, right? Because so we'll just know when the decision doesn't come out.
No, because if she considers she can consider the response and reply and still deny it, though, right? Like she can still.
Well, I guess she could maybe.
Right, so that would put it to July 10th, right?
I don't expect anything good.
Or, I mean, we know she's not going to grant the hearing. Well, we're 99% sure she's not going to grant the hearing. But that doesn't mean that she can't accept the response and reply, right? And still deny it. That would give her until July 10th, correct? If she just said, oh, I'm going to consider them. I hope I'm explaining that correctly.
If it makes sense to me, Julie, I'm sure you are.
Well, it's like things make sense in my head, but then I start saying them and people are like, what the hell are you talking about, Julie?
And that happens to me all the time. I'm used to it. Mm-hmm. I get that. I don't think she's going to consider them.
She's going to say he's procedurally barred. Yeah. I can't see any others. Yeah, right. Again with the procedurally barred.
But is he really procedurally barred?
We already know that the appeals court was already less than amused with the complete procedurally barred argument that came out of the appellate lawyers, and we didn't get much different from these guys.
So then why would she keep saying that? You know, I mean, you think that they're going to get sick of her doing this? You know, playing that.
That's what Tracy keeps saying is they're going to get tired of it.
Because they're dragging.
Court. Is there not an option where they could be like, we're kicking this back again, but that bitch can't do anything with it. We need a new judge.
Yes.
Like, because at some point, the appellate court has to understand that this judge is just not interested. So, like, is there some sort of whatever statute or whatever bullshit to say, hey, where the appellate court can order a new judge? I guess that's what I'm asking. I'm sure that's not an option, but
no, it kind of I don't know if it's exactly like that, but Tracy actually said that if she denies it and it goes back to the Court of Appeals and the Court of Appeals feels like she just pushed it off, they can order the hearing and say that it has to be a new judge.
Perfect.
So I don't know exactly what the process is, but
it's somewhat what I said, but that option, at the end of the day, that option exists.
Right. Well, it should. It should.
Okay.
If the appeals court finds in Zellner's favor, that should be an option. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, from what I understand, anyway.
Yeah, Tracy says
once the COA makes a decision, KZ can request a new judge.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you'd think they'd be sick of it because they're just dragging their feet and it's getting tiring. You know, it's just the same back and forth ping pong game. They got to be getting tired of it.
I gotta
Probably
imagine
not as much as us.
it's a black eye for Wisconsin. They got to understand that there's a bunch of us out here and it ain't just going away.
Nope.
Right.
You know,
And we're going to show them that too.
Yeah, and so they may eventually decide, you know what, let's just deal with this instead of trying to hide under a rock and you know, whatever, you know, kind of strategy they got going at the moment.
She can't request a new judge on limited remand, but she can in reverse and remand. The remitted would then be filed. That's a very fancy word that I do not know the definition to. Who was asking?
Tracy, speak English. No, I'm just kidding.
who was it? Martha that was asking? Oh my gosh! Somebody asked a question, and I wanted to answer it.
Somebody asked the question, and you wanted the answer. Yeah, I like that.
And now I don't remember what it was or who it was.
Now you sound more like me again.
Well, it's so hard.
All right, so long story short, we're hoping that within the next couple of days there's something that we'll be able to talk about in regards to what happened with Judge Suck at This. So,
well, we know that if we don't get a response on Monday, we've got to wait till what, July 10th?
July 10th. Well, July 10th is the deadline if she considers the response and reply, but
yeah,
Tracy's saying that's not really, she's probably not going to grant the hearing, so she's not going to consider the response or reply, so she's not going to take until July 10th. So the likelihood is that if we don't get a response or a ruling on Monday, that it's probably going to be another 90 days.
Great.
Yeah.
Woohoo, right?
That's what I'm taking from
yeah, and let the state say that Casey is dragging her feet some more. You just let them say that.
I and others have been playing for 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
It is a long.
They can't even see it.
Tracy's saying that basically it means that the Court of Appeals is done with the case and makes it like it has to go back.
Yeah.
So that's them like saying, I've had enough of your shit. You're going to do your job.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Somebody should do that right away.
That's what should happen here.
Yeah.
So if it goes back to the circuit court, are there appeals? Like, let's say the circuit court, it does go back to circuit court. They really don't do much with it. Are there appeals like rebooted or brought back to zero? Can they still appeal the circuit court again if they come up with a
state?
The appeals court sends it back to the circuit court, basically demanding the hearing, saying, "Look, have the freaking hearing. We want to know about this and this and this. We want detailed testimony from people who know what the hell they're talking about, and you know whatever. You know they'll get very clear about what they want, right? At that point, that's at that point that's when it should get interesting. You know, if that's what happens. Like I said, there's some interesting aspects of this because, like I said, originally when the CD was reviewed, Wisconsin was kind of working under a different interpretation of Brady. Okay, but since then, the Wisconsin Supreme Court has basically changed the way that they interpret Brady, where it no longer comes down to defense due diligence anymore. It's about, did the prosecution have it and did they sit on it? And did they try to obstruct?
Was it not in good faith? Right.
Right. So, and so.
Can you send the link off to Tracy? Tracy, can you come in?
Okay. She says.
Yes, Tracy should definitely join.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because she's typing up a storm and she's trying to get him out there.
Explain the legal terms that we're all like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's like one sentence,
but it sounds good.
She's one sentence right now.
Like trying to read Swiss cheese.
Right, exactly.
Give us 10 minutes, Tracy.
5.
Yeah,
She said
no,
five to
don't
bed.
give Jamie's 10 minutes is not like everybody else's 10 minutes. Don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Hey,
found the question.
Hours.
I found the question.
Denise, when you're crossing, country lines, the 10-minute rule really doesn't matter because we have people all over the place.
She said, give her a few minutes and she will. And go ahead, Julie, with your question. Answer for your question.
Martha was asking, do you think that the police department has any idea how many people are coming at them? I think they do.
You know what? And we got to be clear that the Manitowoc Police Department is separate from the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department.
Yes.
And they are very nice, according to all of the other rally people that I've heard say, and I watched a video on them. They don't seem like they're going to, give us any problem because they said, let them have their peaceful, they're peaceful. And they got guilters on the other side, they said. They're okay. So does that happen? Are there guilters across the, on the other side doing this and then we're on one side? I mean, Erekose, you know.
There was
Kelly,
the first year.
Yeah.
There was the first year, from what I understand.
And the first year they were
There was
mixed.
like face-to-face crazy arguments, and Allie went in and broke it up. She was the referee. Look at her.
Yeah,
Tell me, Allie, tell me.
They were up in each other's faces and stuff. It was kind of scary. I mean, like there was a bunch of supporters on the steps of the courthouse, and then a bunch of the guilters on the ground just at the bottom of the steps, yelling back and forth at each other. So it was like that when I walked up. Yeah, I broke up one that looked pretty nasty. It was ugly. They were really loud, screaming.
I won't be doing that.
When I was there last year, we had probably one of the more reviled of the guilters. He used to be a supporter who suddenly started having lunch with King Kratz and became a guilter, and he showed up.
Yep.
And he was right there. I was going live, and suddenly somebody's tapping me on the shoulder saying, "Hey, there's so-and-so."
I know, I see.
And I was like, I go, "Really?" And I'm like, turn around, and I was like, "Son of a bitch, there he is."
Well,
I was like,
yeah.
And
I have to address something. Arlene, I don't know where you heard that, but it's not true. She's saying that she learned that even if they are exonerated, they still have to register as sex offenders. That is not true. They do not.
But
They are exonerated.
The only person that was convicted of a sex crime anyway is Brendan.
Exactly. Right. And if he's exonerated,
that means everything is cleared.
Exactly. He does not have to register as a sex
no
offender.
record, no nothing.
So I don't know who is spreading that around, but it's not true. That's the second time I've heard that.
Right. Exonerated is exonerated.
Yes.
Everything's gone.
Gone. Done.
So,
hey, Scotch Andy.
I'm sorry. You can go back to what you were talking about. I wanted to address that and nip that in the bud really quick because I do not like misinformation going around. Spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, well, John Boats says, why in bloody, hell would they have to register as sex? Yeah, they wouldn't. Not an exoneration. But if he, what is it? If he got pardoned or if he took a trip, he would have to. That's what it was. That's what Tracy said. If he got clemency, he would have to.
Yeah.
Or Brendan would, not Stephen. Because, because only Stephen and only Brendan was charged with mutilation of a body and rape, correct?
Yeah.
Brendan but Arlene, Stephen's first conviction
of a sexual assault.
Stephen's first conviction was not a sexual assault. The one that
it was, but
yes, it was.
That one was, but he was exonerated of that, and he didn't have to register for that. So the one that still stands.
He's never been registered as a sex offender.
He's never been accused of rape other than that.
Yeah, he's never been
convicted. He's never been convicted.
He's not convicted. Yeah.
But he still had to serve his time for his assault on his cousin. So
that stuff, gun charge.
He's
right, but that wasn't sexual. So
convicted felon. That's
That's why he got picked up because of a gun.
But, well, they actually hadn't even enforced that. For whatever reason, they hadn't even enforced that when they released him. It was actually an afterthought that Ken Kratz and all of them were like when they were trying to figure out a way to pick up Stephen.
Wow.
They all kind of went, oh wait, shouldn't he have that weapons charge or whatever? So they actually went down to the Manitowoc County Courthouse and found the old case because there was something that went on with everything was being entered electronically into the state's database and this and that and whatever. And so they actually had to go and track the files down manually down at the Manitowoc County Courthouse. And by Kratz taking that and taking it over to the whatever Madison or somewhere, that made it then where they were able to arrest Stephen because he had that rifle hanging on the wall above his bed because he was a felon who was not supposed to have that or whatever. But they actually had to go and track down this paperwork and take it somewhere else and file it before they could do that. So
they had to look in the haystack and find that needle first before they could do anything, right? Because they couldn't get anything else, So let's get that first, and then we'll do all the rest.
That's pretty common.
Which also points to the fact that he was targeted. They were going back to looking at reasons they were looking for reasons to be able to lock him up.
Exactly.
Which is what you do with your main suspect, your prime suspect. You want to get them off the street immediately if you can. And you find anything you can to just get them off the street, locked up, away from,
any small thing, right?
So they can't mess with evidence, so they can't do, hide, so they can't run, so they can't talk to people. All those things, get them immediately off the street if you can.
Right.
So yeah,
I've heard of that. I've heard of them coming up with some, like, well, wasn't he? Oh, we need to hold him on investigation. So they'll hold you on pending investigation of something that they know really wasn't, but it could have been you. You know what I mean? Because I've seen that and I've heard of that. Just pending investigation, that gives them 72 hours to come up with something and talk to you, and that's a long time in the interrogation room or being locked up or whatever.
Sense, but what
you need to send Tracy the link.
I sent it in Hangouts, Tracy. Let me send it. I'll send it in Discord too.
Yeah, they made it so that he didn't have access to a lawyer.
Oh, that's crazy. And
that's what upset me. I mean,
that is crazy.
Holding somebody on a charge that is confirmed and
but twice they did that to him
so that you can keep investigating. That makes sense to me. That doesn't seem janky.
But they did it twice, Julie.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is keeping somebody held on charges that are confirmed because they are a suspect. That makes sense to me, and that doesn't seem suspicious to me. Right. The problem for me is that they purposely didn't let him call anybody and didn't let him talk to an attorney. And when his attorneys tried to contact him, they weren't able to. That is my problem.
Oh, yeah.
That's not okay.
But that happened in the first time, too. Right? The first case. Exactly. So it happened twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it happened to him twice. And like his first lawyer said, that's against his rights right there. And they'd never seen it before and ever after. And then he gets it again. So, why are they allowed? Because right there, they're taking away his civil rights. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And why shouldn't that be, throw it out? You know what I mean?
No doubt.
Most judges would say, throw that out. You can't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
it's also like Stephen being put in solitary confinement 3 days before Brendan's, confession.
Yeah.
Stephen was put in solitary confinement, and the reason was because he's going to have new charges soon. Are you fucking kidding me? Damn it. I do not have the mouth for this channel. I am so sorry. Deal with it.
You're fine.
I can't help you.
You're fine. You're fine.
It's very convenient that they just knew he was going to have charges coming soon. So he was I think he went into solitary on the 26th. Yep.
Well,
so
they knew they were planning their.
They knew what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that was all planned because on the 27th it started.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I still want to know why he wasn't.
The new charges are coming before Brendan even provided the opportunity for new charge, or they made Brendan provide opportunity for new charges. It's ridiculous.
Well,
and they put it right there. They put it in their own paperwork. It's right there in black and white.
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
Well, maybe somebody can answer this question for me. Why was it that he was not able to leave to go pick up Jody that night? Or why wasn't she able to leave? Because, if he picked her up, there's an alibi. Does anybody ever, we ever get an answer to that? Or maybe nobody else is curious about it, but besides me and Juan, that Juan guy, because I really want to know that,
I think we all.
Because that would have changed everything.
Right.
I don't think they've ever answered that.
Yeah, they never got an answer for it.
Not
I mean,
that-
Jody doesn't know ever, or
Hi, Tracy.
Tracy.
Oh, hi,
Oh, there we
Tracy. My favorite, basically a lawyer.
I was on my way to bed, so no judging.
We don't judge here.
We don't judge here.
You should
I
have
don't
seen
give
me
a crap.
last
I'm just
night.
glad that you came on. I was happy.
I was a hot
Thanks,
mess
Jamie.
No,
last
I
night.
can shut
Welcome,
up.
welcome.
Hot
Welcome,
mess I
welcome.
was last night.
So Tracy, now that you're on the live, can you explain a little bit about the sabbatical? The way we were, I guess, what we were discussing before. Do you remember the questions that were coming up?
Well, my understanding was that he was sent an email after Steve made the FOIA request, and that's when they got the automated message. But we don't know how long that was actually, in effect. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody emailed him a month ago to see if it was the same message or if they got a reply. So that was my only thing, was saying that we don't really know when he started this sabbatical. I think I said I put that in it's interesting, but I don't like to draw conclusions on things when there really is nothing saying that it's because of the case. It could just be because of something else. It could be because of the case, but we don't know. And I say he doesn't really have anything to do at this point. He's not an attorney of record in the Court of Appeals, but he still is an attorney of record in the circuit court. So he hasn't been removed from the case. I saw some people saying that somewhere. He's still on the case.
Yeah.
Until he actually files a motion to withdraw, or if he files one, he's still an attorney of record. So that also kind of makes me think that it might not have anything to do with the case, because if he was that upset about the case, I think the first thing he'd do is withdraw from it.
So
Maybe
one of the questions that I had was, is he close to retirement? Could that be a trigger for the sabbatical?
I don't really know. I mean, I don't know how long he was there before the last trial. I'm not really sure. I mean, for me, sabbaticals are usually taken for religious reasons or educational purposes. That's usually when sabbaticals are taken. Because if there's a health issue or a family health issue, then it would usually be filed under FMLA. It wouldn't be a sabbatical.
Yeah.
FMLA is different than the sabbatical.
Right. And for a sabbatical, I mean, who knows? He could be taking a research or teaching opportunity for the summer. Who knows? He could be going on a mission. I don't know if he's a religious guy. We don't really know. So that's why everybody knows me. I don't like to jump to conclusions unless there's something saying that. So I mean, I just put it like, okay, that's how I felt when I read it. I was like, okay.
It's just coincidental kind of stuff,
Yeah, it could be completely coincidental, but it could have something. I mean, we'd all like to think that the guilt is just eating away at him so much that he's having a mental breakdown and he can't handle it. But again, if it was a mental breakdown, that would actually be under FMLA. So
yes.
So it'd be fun to think that's it. Not that I wish a mental breakdown on anyone. But I just don't think there's any real evidence of that.
I would say that retirement looks like it might be in his near future, because he is looking pretty haggard.
Well, maybe they just told him to, take a little sabbatical.
One foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. Give the guy a break, man.
Till they can make up their mind if he want him to go away. I mean, maybe they want him. They want to give him a week or so to think about this, and then his guilt is, getting to him, and he might say something. So maybe they gave him a time off so he won't. I don't know.
The only thing I found unusual was that he said that he would not be back in the office for some time. That's a little odd, but again, let's say it is one of the two usual reasons, a mission or a education opportunity. Maybe it's just that you don't know exactly when you're going to be back for sure. Like you don't know, maybe, like I said, if it was a mission, maybe you're going for a month, but there's the option to stay longer. I don't know. So
it just means Casey's going to get more voicemails from
Mark
Williams. For Mr. Buttcaller.
There to watch Mark. Watch out. Things are going to get real.
There isn't much reason for her to communicate with them right now because it's completely in the court's hands. And if they deny it, then it goes back to the Court of Appeals, and then she'll be talking to the appellate attorneys.
Yeah.
So that's why I said that he's not really needed right now. So, and if by some miracle they grant an evidentiary hearing, which I do not see happening, but if they did that, he'd be bound by subpoena to have to come back if they had a hearing. So, I mean, it's not like he can just disappear and not have to show up. So that's why, I mean, it is pretty much a foregone conclusion. It's going to be a denial. Most of the time, if you're going to grant a hearing, judges want to get that set on their docket as soon as possible. I've seen hearings granted in a day, like after a motion, but usually within a week. Wow. And so it would not take 3 months, to say, I'm going to grant this.
Yeah.
It could happen. Never say never, but it's just statistically, I would not say that that's a probability. I would say that it's most likely it's going to be a denial. She's taking as much time as she needs.
Given her track record, that's not really something, you're going to bank on here.
Right, and since she's already ruled that Steve's procedurally barred from like 70% of his petition, and I can't honestly think of any other reason that she could give for denying it other than procedural bar. And if she goes the same way that she's gone in the other decisions, we're expecting about a 5-page denial.
Yeah.
What
do you think?
Saying that he's procedurally barred.
What do you think of that paper that Steve did?
I didn't read it.
Oh.
The FOIA request.
Yeah, the FOIA request.
Oh, the FOIA request? Oh, God, don't even.
Yeah.
I'm like, he should not. I mean, that's Steve.
Okay.
I just thought it was something
he wanted to do, right. Yeah, no, I'm not making a big deal. I just thought, well, that's just him doing his own thing.
Steve gets ideas in his head, okay? Casey doesn't always agree with them, but he gets ideas in his head. And now Kathleen should actually have these photos. She has pictures that we don't have. I know that for a fact.
Right.
She have all the pictures from the case file. So chances are he asked and she wouldn't give them to him or something. I don't know. That's just me guessing. So he's just like, fine, I'm just going to ask for them myself. Because it's such a Steve thing to do.
So now Tracy, remember in MAM2 though, she talked about if he filed anything in reference to this case while she was on it, she would drop him.
Yeah, because she doesn't. I was trying not to answer this question in my group. I even said that. I mean, but I can almost guarantee she's not happy with him right now, for doing that, because that's essentially doing an end around your attorney. He's I'm just going to go around you.
Yeah, and that's not cool.
Attorneys don't like that. Let me do my job. Stop making my job more difficult.
That's one of the biggest things that really makes me think that there's not much to it, because I mean, yes, Steve, I just don't think Stephen is that dumb to ruin this opportunity, to be honest with you.
Oh, he would surprise you sometimes.
Oh no.
Just remember, Stephen is stubborn, folks. He's stubborn.
He is as stubborn as a person can get. He always thinks he's right, and once he gets something in his head, he will not let it go. So that's why I said in my comment in my group, I just said that I'm fairly certain this is something to satisfy his own curiosity, not that it necessarily is going to break the case. If it was going to break the case, it would be Kathleen making the request, and we probably would not see it.
Right.
Until after it's done. And people were saying, oh, well, she can't make the request. Steve can get it faster. I don't know where people come up with this stuff. Right. She can make a FOIA request just like anybody else can.
Yeah.
So I was like, where do people come up with this stuff? No, I mean, she FOIA requested the case, a report. She FOIA requested other things.
Well, she had her investigator do it.
But it's still, I mean, same thing though. I mean, she can do it. It's just that she has her investigator do it, but she can do it. Any member of the public can make a FOIA request.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're the attorney or not.
Plenty of editors do it. I know. So.
Yeah, it would be faster going through Kathleen, because she can contact the attorneys directly and say, hey, I want these, and they would get them to her. But now, a FOIA request, they can drag their feet on.
So if she did do this request, being that they've already, given her warnings about being procedurally barred, if there was something else she found through this FOIA request, could they say, no, sorry, you can't use it because we've already warned you?
No, because she could do what she's been doing, and it would not go over well with the court. But if something new came from this, she'd have to ask for another remand. to go back to the trial court. And I don't think anybody wants to see that right now. And
No.
And again, if it's Steve asking for it, if it was that important, Kathleen would be making the request. And I guarantee she would not want to see something like that. It was pretty bad looking. She would not want that out there.
Yeah.
So, that's just my opinion. Like, lawyers do not like when their clients do things on their own. And I have no idea like how she feels about it, but I would guess that she's probably not happy about it and telling him to just stop.
Yeah.
Well, it's
No, I mean, because Steve can be difficult. I mean, he really
charm, to be perfectly
yeah, exactly.
The stubbornness has its good points. I mean, because if Steve wasn't so stubborn, he would have probably given up a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So so there is a benefit to him being so pig-headed sometimes.
I can understand his frustration.
Like the mighty honey badger.
He's got to be frustrated.
He is. He's very frustrated. He's very frustrated.
And I can totally relate to that. Yeah, I mean, I can totally relate to that. You know what I mean? So he's just doing what makes him feel that he's helping it along.
Right.
I mean,
it was different before.
That he needs something to concentrate on. Like
right. And
he's just tired of hearing about it, and it wasn't the best idea, but. At this rate, what the hell does he have to lose?
It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt anything,
right.
But I don't want people to think that this is going to be some big game changer. Like it's probably something that someone mentioned to him, but some people were making a big deal about it. Like this must mean something. I'm like, no, it means that Steve just got something in his head and he wants to see these pictures for himself. Right. Kathleen has sent him pictures before.
He may have been corresponding with some supporters who were wondering about it as well. So that could be why.
And supporters put a lot of ideas in his head.
Exactly. I was just going to say that there are some that got some ideas that are just,
I spent a lot of time.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time trying to get things out of his head.
Yeah. Because there are some.
I can just imagine that poor guy.
Well, and Trace, if I ask something tonight that you don't want to answer, just say so. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that I didn't know.
No, that's fine.
But, I just kind of thought of it as like Stephen being stubborn and doing, his own thing, so I didn't put nothing into it either. But there are so many people out there that, well, like Julie is correcting some of them tonight, with some of their things. So they come up with some stuff. And if he hears it, and he's sitting there and all he's got is people like us or you or whoever's talking to him to tell him things. He doesn't get, the news and what we got.
Most of the time when I would tell Steve like the latest theory going on, he would roll his eyes at it, most of the time. he does know that some things are really ridiculous and they just aren't going to go anywhere. But somebody must have been very convincing about something with the RAV and the location of the RAV, and so that's what he wants to see,
It's green, not blue.
It's green, not blue.
There's two of them.
Well, I do know one person in particular that will not get it out of her head that the RAVs were switched, and she will not stop. And she tells him that every time they talk. And so it could have something to do with that.
Pretty sure the same person has yelled at me for saying that you're wrong. And I'm sorry, that's not.
They do not let it go. It's that.
I know another person too, but I don't know if they correspond.
And I usually say that if it's something that Kathleen has not noticed, then I don't, then I just.
She'll tweet about it.
It's just like, I mean, she has been through this case over and over and over again. And she's missed like little things that other supporters have picked up on. But something major like that, she would have already like either investigated it or just missed it or whatever. We would have seen something from her on it if they really thought that was a possibility.
Well, she went and bought a RAV herself to do some of these tests. Let's get real. I mean, there's not something that she's, the big things are not laying under, a rug somewhere, and she just has to pick, if somebody else picks it up and shows her, and I didn't see that, because this lady's probably been, and the other, hundreds of people she has looking at these things, they're not going to miss that stuff. That's going to save the case,
So I'm kind of the downer because, the FOIA request comes out and it gets people talking. And then the sabbatical thing comes out and it gets people talking. And I'm always just like, whatever. Like, I don't even give it a second thought most of the time. Because
I wait for Casey and that's what I
said, if it's important, Casey, we'll hear it from Casey. If it's, anything else, I just kind of throw it on the pile of, like I said, sometimes I'll think, okay, that's interesting. Now time to just move on to something else until we get more information about it.
Sometimes it's good to just talk about some of these little things just because it's something to talk about.
Right.
Help keep people interested. And
people are looking for something to talk about right now. That's for sure.
Right. But I've learned to just take it as, well, I'll wait for the legal stuff. I just, because otherwise it just drives me crazy. So
right, and that's what
I
I'm
told
doing.
you this before. And I told you before, I want the facts that they look at, because otherwise my mind goes down those rabbit holes and all that other stuff. And I don't want to drive myself any more crazy than I already am.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So was there anything else that I need to answer while I'm
Any
here?
other questions for Tracy, folks?
Well, I'm going to bring it up because I just watched it tonight. The case that I was talking about earlier about Nicole Vanderhayden.
Yes, the 2020
in Green Bay. Are you familiar with that one, Tracy?
No, I am not.
It was literally just on tonight. We're both in Central Time Zone. Very interesting case where they thought the husband or the boyfriend was the murderer, but everything led away from that. But the guy that they actually convicted had a very compelling story as to how the murder actually happened. He still got convicted anyways. Her name is Nicole Vanderhayden. In Green Bay, I caught it just as Erekose was contacting me tonight, and I'm like, I'm watching another Wisconsin case, and the detectives actually seem very smart in this one, though. That was one thing.
Okay, I'll try and find it tomorrow and watch it. So that
it was on Dateline here tonight.
Mm-hmm. Sounds intriguing. So
yeah, it's surprising how little I notice of other cases right now. I got
posted links.
So burnt out on this case.
Oh no, you didn't. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
Yeah, every other case I look at is just so it just refers me right back to like more of Brendan. It's what I've been seeing, and it just drives me crazy. I can't much handle it, and I got a week to when rally comes. I don't want to be all down. I want to be happy and let's party.
Brendan keeps me going. Brendan keeps me going. He is. He's just so
strong.
Sweet. He's so sweet and so kind, and he just makes me smile. Every time I get an email from him, I just smile from ear to ear because and there's nothing spectacular about anything he's saying. It's just he just has a way about him that is just so endearing. He really does, and it does make me sadder that anybody could think he's a rapist and murderer. Because come on,
oh my gosh, for real. I mean, who the heck? Ugh.
Before you go, do you have any thoughts about the Central Park 5? Have you looked into that at all?
I watched When You Can See Me, and or When They See Us, whatever it's called, When They See Us, and it was hard. I told Julie and Fenn, I just like 20 minutes in the first episode, I wanted to turn it off. It was making me sick to my stomach.
I cried.
And but they told me, no, you have to keep watching, and so I watched it, and then I just pretty much cried my way through episode 4.
Nope.
Yeah,
with Corey.
I did too. I told Finn to watch it because I was the first one to watch it, as far as I know, on Discord, and I pinned it up there and told him, and Finn was talking to me about it, and I'm telling you, before I cried and I cried the whole time, and all I thought about was Brendan, and the reason why I really cried was I know what Rikers Island is like, where he was first sent to, because I went there to visit my husband. I want to tell you that is no place for a grown man, hard man, let alone a child. Okay. It is absolutely appalling to me. And I can't even talk about it. It just breaks my heart.
Right. I think that, and when I watched that, I just thought,
folks, they actually love it because they feel like the criminals are getting thrown into a cage of animals, and they're going to.
Well, they're animals. They said it repeatedly that
they are animals. They are.
And I mean, I sat there actually thinking, like, thank God that Brendan's in a Wisconsin prison and not a New York prison.
Yes.
Because that's one thing I can say about Wisconsin prisons is that we don't have a lot of that. Steve had told me once that, in Waupun, the only deaths that ever happened there were suicides. There was never anybody getting shanked or anything like that.
Yeah, you don't hear about
They get a little rowdy. They had some lockdowns over people. Like the last one was people started setting lunch stuff on fire in the lunchroom. I don't know. Wow. But there really isn't a lot of violence.
Well, Rikers Island is completely bar barbaric. I mean,
Right.
they were so full that they had him on a barge when my husband was in there. They were on a barge in the Hudson with overload of prisoners. So can you imagine that? A floating barge of prisoners? You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely, and I was in there and I went through it. And I'll tell you, I felt like I was the biggest serial killer that ever was, just going to visit somebody. So I cannot even imagine what it was like to be in there.
I don't think
Linda,
it
is
was
that
terrible.
prison cruise?
A prison cruise.
Huh? A prison cruise, yeah, okay. I don't think they thought of it like that because it wasn't very livable. You know what I'm saying? It was pretty horrific.
I don't think any 16-year-old should put in a maximum security prison. I think that
never.
You know, if anything, if you have to put them in adult prison, put them in medium security, because what are they going to do at 16 years old? Walk in and just act like they own the place?
Oh yeah, really?
You know,
Yeah,
they're
right.
not. I mean, they're still going to be intimidated. They're still going to be prisoners who've been there longer, and you know, and
The other
they're
thing
not going to do anything.
It's like with Brendan, also with the Central Park Five, when they try to describe the act of raping or whatever, it seems so freaking obvious that none of them has ever been involved in the act
of anything like that
with a female in any way, because the way that they describe it is awkward and feeble, like a kid who's never been experienced.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
but
did
heard what they
wonder.
wanted to hear.
Right, and I did wonder if Linda Fairstein,
Unfairstein is the way.
Unfairstein, yes, Linda Unfairstein. I kind of wonder. The Preppy murder case was in
same time
86, I believe. It was a few years beforehand, and she tried that case, and it went to a hung jury, and so she had to offer him a plea deal on a lesser charge. And yes, he got convicted, but to me, Fairstein is a lot like Kratz. She's got an ego, she's a narcissist, and I kind of wonder if she was so aggressive on this case because of her ego taking a hit when she couldn't convict Robert Chambers.
That's exactly what they said. When I lived there, when all this was going on, I lived there during them years in New Jersey. That woman was just going to get something to change her perspective of what other people thought of her. That she's doing. She was so frustrated because there was so much rape going on and assaults in the park at that time. That I mean, a lot of them did not make the news, like the Chamberlain and all of that, all that stuff did not make the news, but there was so much of it going on at the time, and they didn't have control over it. You know what I'm saying? That's when they were doing a lot of the racial stoppings, where they were just pulling them over and frisking them, and there was a lot of chaos going on at that time. So she was just trying to get something so they could say, oh, see, she's doing her job, we're making it safe. That's what it was all about for her.
Well, and I also thought about the fact that just how crazy it is that Corey shouldn't even have been there to begin with.
Right.
Oh my God.
He definitely should have been interrogated. He shouldn't have been arrested, and he definitely should have been convicted. No. But if he hadn't been convicted as an adult and gone to adult prison, he wouldn't have crossed paths with Reyes. And and it's like, well, then they may never have been exonerated. So it's just this weird, like,
it's the butterfly effect.
Yes,
it's just the butterfly effect. Simple as that.
But do you realize that guy?
I gotta say that the circumstances of the interrogations would have probably gotten these things overturned in federal court eventually, because you notice that one part when Raymond Santana's father talks about how he was there, his son looked weak and tired, he never saw him give him any water or drink or food or anything. He said, I left and I came back, and Raymond actually looked even weaker, and he still hadn't had any food or drink or whatever. And so I think they would have had a chance of going on into the federal court system, and that there would have probably been a chance they might have had some success there.
And it would never get to a federal habeas appeal because they weren't in long enough.
Right.
That's the thing. That's why it would never get to that point. 3 or the 4 other one, I mean, they appealed their convictions, but it would never get past state court because they just weren't in long enough, because it can take years to get to a habeas proceeding. Now, it was pre-EDPA, which would have made it interesting. Oh. But the biggest problem was remember, they only recorded their confessions.
Right.
They didn't record anything leading up to it. And then it ends up being a case of, he said, he said.
And they all had each other. They went against each other. So.
Right. And the cops were always given the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly. Well, like the one cop says, you can't use read technique on these guys because and he goes, oh, I don't know nothing about the read technique. I know how to get them to talk. I'm like, okay,
Ziggy,
that's real great.
I just got to
Anton. That
do my
wasn't
job, he
Raymond.
said, I believe.
Yeah. Or I just do my job.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And you see a lot of similarities. Now, Brendan wasn't physically hurt. It was a much more gentle coercion. But you still, the defense of it afterward, after the exoneration and the defense that you're getting from Fairstein, I said what? She put Jean Couché to shame.
Yeah.
You know, where he's still saying like, well, do we know that he's innocent? You know, it's the same thing. It's like, so the defense of their actions is very similar to what we've seen in this case.
Right. In for a penny, in for a pound.
And what's really sticks in my head is that guy that confessed, he watched Corey and he felt the guilt by watching this poor guy go through this stuff.
So
he
not
had so
immediately.
much guilt. No, not immediately because they had their own beef, and it was years, but still, that it goes to show you that the human, no matter how bad you are, because that guy was evil, no doubt was he evil, but it did get to him. Watching this guy stand up and say, I did not do it. I'm not, and he wouldn't even go to his parole hearings anymore because he wasn't going to admit guilt,
Right.
So for him to stand his ground, that really got to that guy and he felt the guilt. So that's, I mean, I don't know if I'm not giving the guy credit, but I'm just saying that, human people who really feel something, well, the guilt got to him.
Matthias
Let's hope Fallon's feeling that way. Fallon might be
began
feeling
to fear his immortal soul.
Yes.
He believed his immortal soul and he began to fear for it.
I would really like to see an investigation to her other cases, especially if there was a confession involved.
Oh, yeah.
I would say that I have no faith in any of those cases now.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a lot of cases, but I think that everything she's done has to be called into question.
Do you notice how when they see us, how when Lederer came in, she was very disdainful of unfair, what's her name? Fairfield.
Fairstein.
Yeah, Fairstein. Like, whenever Lederer came in, she was just like, oh yeah, these kids really, are you sure? And like, she's constantly fighting it. They end up taking it to the actual district attorney guy, that old dude.
That's what she flipped. Flipped.
Yeah, right. And they're arguing about it. Like, you get this impression like Lederer knew better.
Yeah,
right.
She was fighting it, right?
Yeah, it definitely didn't seem like. Okay, well, first of all, this is a dramatization, and that is one side that they couldn't possibly know exactly what was said and how their reactions were because nobody was talking about that. So, I mean, to be fair, we don't know if Linda Fairstein used those exact words.
Well, they know
we
they
have no
made
idea.
her look good.
But it made it look like, but they certainly made it look like that Lederer had reservations and just got bullied by Fairstein. And she looks like a bully and sounds like a bully. Because she tried bullying Nancy Ryan too. Nancy Ryan was like, I'm curious what would have happened if Nancy Ryan would have been able to stay on the case. I mean, obviously, I'm glad that the jogger, that Trisha Miley did not die.
Yes.
But if she would have, then Nancy Ryan would have stayed on the case.
Right.
And I don't think she would have been as easy to push around.
Well, no, it says in the thing that she could see where it turned, where it went sour.
Right.
And the lady that she was, this Fairstein or whatever her name was, Linda lady, was bringing that stuff to the attorney or the prosecutor. And she was kind of like, well, what's this? What's this? What's this? And then I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe she's not going to, she's going to say, no, I can't do it. You're hoping because she's seeing all these holes. No, she just tells her what they need to do to make it so it'll stick, and I'm like, what's turning in their head where they're supposed to be doing, the right, going for justice? Where did that turn? That's what I really want to know is where does that turn in them people's heads? It's been very, that's been really a curiosity of mine.
I think there was desperation for conviction. And I remember, Erekose, I watched one of your lives, I think when Jamie was on, where you guys asked if there's anything incentives for conviction rates and things like that.
Right, yeah.
And definitely not officially. There would never be any official incentive for conviction rates.
Right.
But there are a lot of behind closed doors incentives.
Sure.
I believe they said at one time in Wisconsin, they, one of the reasons they said that Kratz did what he did was because it was rumored that if you lost more than like 4 cases, you're going to be fired. That would be it. You'd be done at the DA's office. And that's not in any handbook.
I was reading a little article about Lederer, and I would say that this seems to be the big difference between her and Unfairstein, is that she is now, I guess she's kind of moved on from being a prosecutor or whatever. She's now a law professor, and
she's teaching.
I think she's still with the DA's office though. She is still with the DA's office. I'm pretty sure. But she also
fired.
Is an adjunct professor at Columbia.
But to get back to the point I was making was that she's very well respected, and that people have kind of gone through her case history, and really the Central Park 5 is really kind of the only blemish in her career. That her career is actually full of a lot of very well done. And
that we know. That's what I was just saying.
Yeah, that we know of. And wouldn't that be? That's a pretty big blemish.
Yeah.
So Erekose, though, think about this. That one blemish is 5 people.
And Unfairstein is being stripped from like charity boards she's on. Her book deal's been retracted. It's like we're seeing 2 different things happening. So it leads me to believe that Lederer probably did have a bit more scruples and a little more integrity, and that's why she's weathering it better. It's just a thought.
Well, yeah, because ultimately, Linda Fairstein was in charge of the sex crimes unit. So it was her. She was the boss. It was. Obviously the DA is above her, but this was her call. This was her, thing. So even though you have an ADA prosecuting it, they're just, the grunt that's, prosecuting it. But she wasn't going to be calling the shots. That's for sure. That was going to come from Fairstein. And should have come from the DA, but as people, I don't think people really realize in general, DAs are more administrative than anything. They don't really get involved in individual cases unless, usually for high profile case, maybe they will, but they're just not as, once they become a DA, they're not as well, they're a little rusty when it comes to trial court, because they don't try cases as often. That's what the ADAs do. So it definitely wasn't. Lederer was in a difficult spot, no matter what, because it wasn't her call.
Right.
And if she wanted to say like, I don't believe in this, well, she would lose her job. That would be it.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And I've also thought, thought the same thing about Fallon. I've thought that because I've heard certain things that are positive about Fallon, and I've always thought that he is kind of between a rock and a hard place, because it's like, I think he does, because he agreed to the testing, and I was told he wanted the testing done, but he also has his job to do, and it's like it's just a matter of like, how important is this job to you?
That's why I think they told him to leave.
So I do think that there's a similarity there, that he's not the one calling the shots. It's coming from above him. Mm-hmm. And Steve told me a while ago that he thought Fallon wanted off the case. That was what he was told. I don't know if I should be saying that or not, but
I wouldn't doubt it at this point, honestly. Right. Look at him. He's got his hand in the cookie jar, giving the bones back. I'm sure if I was him, I'd love to put lots of
there's so much against him. But
if there is one person who I do believe of everybody on that side that I believe has questioned things, it would be Fallon.
I kind of agree with you. I agree with you. I really do. I don't have a real love for the guy, you know what I'm saying? But I kind of think he was trying to do right, by agreeing to the testing, and first of all, by him wanting biological evidence to even be preserved for people. That's a good thing, okay? Whether he went against it or not, it still is a good thing in the long run, So he has tried to do good things, But
then it's still though, like, is it worth keeping your job?
Right.
He's also the one that told Brendan's jury that innocent people don't confess.
Right.
Yeah. I get
I'm saying that was then, and I think versus what he feels now. I think he may have a different view now. Back then, obviously, he fully committed to believing they were guilty. I think now, and it's just because of things I've heard, which I can't repeat some of them, but things I've been told that I think if there's anybody that's had doubts, I think it's him. And I was told that he wanted the testing done. which is unusual because, you know, and that's why I kind of get frustrated when I hear people saying they're blocking the testing. Actually, if you knew the story, Fallon actually wanted this testing done. You know, it just got screwed up because of the judge ruling, you know. So I just think that I've never gotten that impression from Gon, you know, for sure. And definitely not from Kratz.
Right. Yeah.
Any
there
doubts,
you go.
You know.
Yeah. Not for 1 second, you know, but I just wish somebody that was high up would just get the, you know, it's about time we do the right thing. Okay. Look at us. Look at all this stuff they got on going on with us.
Let's do the right thing. Let's do something. Like they need to do something.
They need to do the right thing. There's just too much. I mean, too much discrepancies in just about every part of their narrative that the state has. And I think that they should want to see what Kathleen has, you know, and want it to be figured out. You'd think by this time the courts would really want, you know, not just judge suck at this, you know, but, you know, I mean, we know she isn't going to do it, but the other people isn't going to be like, come on, let's just do this.
Yeah, well,
let's really see what they got. Because, you know, I honestly think that if they thought it was such a strong case, why don't they just let it go? Why don't they just let them have the trial or whatever they need if it's that strong? You know, if they know they're not going to win.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Why? How come KZ isn't able to get her hands on the RAV?
Because procedurally she can't. That's the thing. It's not that. I mean, they agreed to let her look at the RAV. It was part of the agreement, but the judge ruled. Once the judge ruled, that was out the window.
That was part of that agreement.
Yeah. They were going to give her access to the RAV to do everything.
I hadn't realized that, but that's interesting. So.
Yeah, but once the judge ruled, then that was it. It's the case is considered closed at the circuit level, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. That's just that's the way that it is, and you know, so you have to move on, and and because that's what it is. Because I get frustrated. They're saying they're not letting her, and yes, they did. They actually agreed to it. It's just that once the judge ruled, it was out of everybody's hands.
I think in that case, when they say they're not letting her, they means Judge Sukowitz.
Okay, yeah.
You know?
Well,
and even then, though, she's not, because she did agree to the testing. She went along with whatever the agreement was. Again, the testing has nothing to do with her ruling on the petition that was in front of her. You know, okay, if she had been notified of the agreement, she would have allowed it.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't know. You know, so I mean, and that was, you know, that was something that needed to be done. She needed to be told about it.
Actually, she did know, but she wasn't notified in the official manner that she states in her decision. And so I can't deny that. She wasn't informed completely officially, but she did receive a letter that did state as much.
Well, it wasn't the proper form to say that.
Right.
Just because she said something about testing does not automatically mean that the judge is going to assume there's going to be an amendment coming forth, because you don't know, because lawyers change their mind. They chase down leads and they don't pan out. And so the judge is not going to just sit there forever. And the judge, Supreme Court rules say the judge is supposed to rule within 90 days. She ruled it was over 100 days that she gave it before she ruled. So, you know, she gave it the amount of time she was supposed to, and no amendment came. So there was nothing improper about her ruling at all. I hate to say it, but because I think it was, now her ruling was improper as far as the reasoning for it, but the timing was not improper. Saying, you know, like, I think her decision was stupid, you know, and wrong.
Well, I've tried to tell people that she asked for the RAV and would have been granted, but I couldn't remember where I heard it. But now, as soon as I seen you saying it, I remember it was on one of your Facebook things, and I couldn't remember what the reason was. But now that I'm, you know, it's in here again.
It's strictly a weird procedural thing. That was it.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, very unfortunate, because that turned
People
the tide greatly.
About the
it would have changed things dramatically if they had known, if they got that agreement, notified the court about that agreement, and no ruling had come. God. I mean, it was.
Oh, look at Justice.
I know, she's driving me crazy today.
Justice.
Got her ball in her mouth.
Look at her. She wants to play.
She wants to play.
She always wants to play. This dog lives with this ball in her mouth.
Look at
her. You guys want to play?
It's
you want to say hi?
Her head. Hi, Justice.
I know, and she holds this thing in her mouth constantly. There, I'll throw it. Go get it.
Go ahead, Denise.
Tracy, I have a question. So I have kind of come to my opinion that Colburn is basically a patsy. Like it's just my opinion. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm wondering if you kind of feel the same way about Fallon, that he was just doing his job, and then over time he was like, wait a second, you know? So I'm just wondering if you have that same opinion about him, or if you can even say, you know, without saying what you know what I mean?
I mean, I only have that opinion about Fallon, definitely not about any of the other. Yeah, and I definitely think that it's a recent thing since the original testing was done and some of the other information came out. I think that's where I think Fallon, even if it was just a matter of him wanting to satisfy his own curiosity, to get some of this testing done. But I definitely think that was a new development since Kathleen came on board. I don't think he. I don't have any reason to think that he was questioning things prior to that. I think Kathleen brought up so many points that it's like, okay, well, maybe some of these are probably, and they can't all just sit there and say, I mean, they can say it publicly, but they can't all actually think that this was all above board.
Right, exactly.
They can't.
Finn wants to know, is there any circumstances under which the RAV could ever be tested?
Yes, but it will be a long time before that happens.
Yeah. You'll have to have an evidentiary first, correct?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. The evidentiary hearing will be granted on whatever the Court of Appeals says that it will be granted on. Right. Kathleen listed something like 75 claims in her petition overall. Right. They're not all going to be granted for an evidentiary hearing.
Right.
But since the agreement on the testing was part of the motion to vacate, which is also part of the appeal, there's a possibility that they could allow her to do that testing when it goes back for an evidentiary hearing, because it is part of the appeal. In general, though, she would have to get through this entire appeal and then try to file another petition for post-conviction relief, but then she's dealing with the procedural bar issue because they say you could have presented this testing in the previous petition and you did not. And that will be a hard one to win because they're right. She could have presented it in the previous petition and she didn't. So it's a mess. And I go back to, what Michael Cicchini said is that, the judges actually just sit there and try to come up with loopholes and ways to get around this stuff. And it's not just for Steve. It's for any prisoner that's trying to get, a retrial or get their conviction overturned. It is just, it's an uphill battle. And usually it has to be something really egregious, like that is obvious to everybody. And that's the only reason it will be, otherwise it's crazy the things that they can say to get around overturning an unjust conviction.
That's what makes me, Tracy, believe that the legal system and the justice system is a joke.
It is.
Because it's a game.
Right.
People are playing games with other people's lives.
Right. Yeah. I do have more hope for Brendan. I was going to do a video on clemency, and I probably still should do it. I said I was going to do it last week, and I didn't, or this week, and I didn't do it. But I do think there's more hope for Brendan in that area, not for pardoning, but for sentence commutation. I think that's a realistic option for Brendan.
Is it like a resentencing?
No, it's essentially just cutting your sentence down, like saying that you were sentenced too harshly.
Time served, you're done.
Time served, and you can go.
Yeah, because it didn't, that Supreme Court thing where it was, underage or 16 or whatever juveniles going to
but they would have to justify it.
Okay.
You can't really justify a sentence commutation on a rape and a murder and a mutilation of a corpse.
Right.
So they would have to find a way to justify it. And there's some ways they could do that. But definitely, I don't see Brendan getting pardoned. There's no reason for them to pardon him. And pardoning, as I've explained before, pardoning is not really meant for currently incarcerated prisoners. It's meant for people who have served their time. There's been a waiting period. They've proven that they've been a productive member of society. And the pardon does not remove their conviction. It does not make them not a felon anymore. It just restores some of their rights. And basically, you're allowed to say, when you check that box that says, are you a convicted felon? You're also allowed to say, yes, you have to check it, but you can say, I've been pardoned,
Yeah.
And it's essentially just meant to be able to give people a better opportunity for work or for whatever.
Yeah, for jobs. Yeah,
So
housing,
for
whatever.
currently
Yeah.
incarcerated prisoners, it's really sentence commutation is a thing that you're really looking at. But again, that's not an exoneration. Brendan would still be convicted of whatever they decided to stand with
But
when
they
they
can still
offered.
work on exonerating him.
Yeah, they can still. He can still. It's just like with. I mean, it's harder because I don't. Okay, this is an opinion, but if you know anything about how the Innocence Project works, their goal is to get people out. Even though it's called an Innocence Project, their primary goal is to get people out of prison.
Right.
Once they do, they pretty much forget about the whole I'm going to keep proving that you're innocent because they have other cases to work on and other people in prison. I believe that the Center for Wrongful Conviction of Youth is the same way. Their goal is to get Brendan out. I don't necessarily think they would continue on to investigate or try to exonerate him once he's free.
Right.
He may have to get private attorneys to do that, but that's just an opinion, and I just know that's how it's worked before.
I get what you mean. I would say though that he's got a lot of support, and he probably wouldn't have much trouble raising money for a legal.
Right. I don't think you would either. But
and Steve, I mean, Steve would never be granted
freedom is
either.
the ultimate goal.
Right. And
freedom
Tracy.
is right. And Brendan would be crazy.
One of the goals.
If they offered Brendan a deal, he's 29 years old.
Accountable is also another one of my goals, personally. But
I've seen people say, "No, I would never take a deal. I would never do this." I'm like, he is 29 years old.
I would.
Screw the wrongful conviction money. Get out of prison and have a life.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I think he deserves. I think he deserves compensation, but that is not the most important thing.
No, he needs to get out and enjoy his life. Whatever left he has.
Helping him, or whether they just get him out. I mean, whatever. I mean, like I said, it's just once he gets out.
I want to see Brendan free. That's all I care about.
Me too. Oh, yeah. Me too.
He can actually serve as a rallying point for people and help to
He already is
he can have a life. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like you said, he's 29. He's going to be 30 in October. It's still a very young man, and can still get married, have kids, have a career, do all those things. He can still do all those things.
Yep, and
I was just going to say that he still has time to build a family.
Right. So to sit there and say, well, I'm going to risk maybe the next 25 years in prison just so I can maybe get wrongful conviction money in the end would be ridiculous. It would just be a bad decision.
Yeah,
it really would be.
No, if he can get clemency, it's like I said, if they get him out with clemency, then he will. It may not be with Stephen and Laura, but he will still have the option to be able to clear his name.
Right.
And so I think that's the best way to go. Get him out. Yes.
Yeah, at least he's out.
I'm with that. I'm with that. So.
Yep.
Hey, Tracy. T1 just asked a question. He said, "Can KZ represent Brendan in a civil suit once he's out? Doesn't that depend on how he gets out?"
Right. If Steve's still in prison and she's still representing Steve, no, it would still be a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I want to thank you, Tracy, for your live with the juror guy, how to be a juror.
Oh, yeah. With
I liked it. Yeah, it was great.
I felt bad that I hadn't taken notes because he actually made so many really good points in the book, and I couldn't think of them because it was an audiobook and I was doing things and I didn't have a chance to take notes. And
I got a lot out of it.
And I feel like in the video, I'm like, we really didn't touch on a lot of the really good points in there. And so I tried to say that at the end that there's still a reason to get the book. We haven't talked it just seemed like we were talking about common sense stuff.
Well, you could do a part 2 on your own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing for me was jury nullification. I mean, as I said, people need to understand what that is and how important it is.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, so.
I just thought it was a really good idea for sure. Give people a insight on a juror, you know what I mean? Because everybody's got all these, fixations and think things differently, and they don't want to do it, but it's a very important thing, you know what I'm saying? And they should take it very seriously, not like, oh, I should, I'm missing work or whatever, and a lot of people think of it that way and they don't take it seriously. And, if I was ever called for that, I mean, I don't care if it was somebody's speeding ticket or a mass murder, I'm going to give it my 100, you know what I'm saying?
And I'm going to answer this question because I know that, I know your real name, but I'm not going to say your real name, but it says out of prison and out of Wisconsin. Now, if Brendan got a sentence commutation, he would still be under extended supervision. And he may not be able to leave the state. that would be something that you have to work with the parole board and your probation officer, whatever. And so, yeah, I would love to see Brendan be able to get out of the state, but that may not be a possibility if he's on extended supervision. He may have to stay here, and it's unfortunate, but it's just, I just want to say that because I know so many people are like, leave Wisconsin, and he's exonerated. He can go wherever he wants.
Well, if he could request to be able to transfer somewhere else, right? It's just whether or not they would.
There's no guarantee they would do it. It's just like it's not a for sure thing.
Right. Right.
Was there anything else? And I just want to say clemency is the umbrella term. This is going to be the first thing I was going to say in my video. Okay. Clemency is the umbrella term. Clemency is a pardon, but pardon is not, or pardon is clemency, but clemency isn't a pardon. Like I say, clemency, involves either a sentence commutation, a pardon or a reprieve, which doesn't apply here. But so when people interchange them, it's just like you just have to be careful that, like, when you say pardon, well, you're not talking about sentence commutation. You can still refer to it as clemency. So all three of those things are clemency, but clemency is not necessarily sentence. It's you have to break it down.
Commutation is different than got it.
Than pardon, yeah.
And all three fall under the same umbrella, right?
Yeah. So it's people use them interchangeably, and I said that I do not think there's any chance of Brendan getting a pardon. I just don't. Right. I mean, it wouldn't make a lot of sense because that's not
sentence commutation.
Right. So I think that sentence commutation, though, is a very realistic option.
Right. Okay.
For him.
So I think we've had a lot of interesting discussion tonight. I think that's all the questions as well. I know everybody's maybe getting tired. I know Tracy was mentioned going to bed before we got her
an hour ago.
So.
Is there anything? Because I don't know when I'm making another video. It might not be too early.
Tracy or anybody else here. Yeah. Wrecking Crew is here, obviously, too. Love you guys.
Hey, love being here. Thank you, Tracy, for coming in. I know I called you out. Didn't mean to if you were trying to go to bed.
Oh, it's okay.
Hey, reporting live from my sofas there. You must be sleepwalking. Waking up in the middle of the night to go drain the vein or something. I don't know. Anyway.
He always wakes
just
up
tell him, please hold now.
Phone, and then he's just wrapped in. He tells us all the time. He wakes up, checks his phone, and that's it. It's on.
So anyway,
he's like, "Yep, that's how it works." That's funny.
I just call him. Please hold now.
He's what?
Please hold.
Please
that's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, that is funny. He was explaining that in his most recent live. That was pretty funny. I missed all the bit where he was eating sushi though, but
Can't wait to see you, Tracy. Meet you.
So,
I know. I'm so excited to see you guys.
Gonna give you a big hug.
I can't wait to see all you guys either. It's gonna be so much fun. Obviously, my good buddy Mark is gonna be there too. Paul Capaldi. That's gonna be awesome.
His wife.
Is everybody getting there Friday?
Yeah,
I will be there Friday morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting there Friday.
Well, I'll be in Nina for most of the day though. But anyway.
Well, that's why I said I'm going to have Marilyn with me, and we're going to go up Friday. So, we might be able to stop by there first before we go up to Manitowoc. If you want,
I'm going to be probably at 11.
If everyone's going to be there.
If it Nina?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, stop in at Eagle Nation Cycles. There's even going to be apparently a little lunch they're going to be having at noon after I go live with the owner there and stuff. Because I'm going to probably get there around 10 o'clock. I get off my plane I think around 9. It takes me I think about an hour to get down to Nina. So.
A little longer, but yeah.
Okay. Maybe
where are you flying into?
Green Bay.
Oh no, then it probably would. It would only be about an hour.
It only took me like 40 minutes to get to Manitowoc last time. So
yeah, no, that's not as far as Milwaukee.
Right. So
I'm not gonna lie, I'm totally gonna fake that I'm gonna be at work on that Friday, just in case you go live.
Just in case who goes live?
You.
I am going live on Friday.
Okay, then I'm faking that I'm going to be at work.
Because I'm going to go live from Eagle Nation Cycles. So
I will be there, but I'm not really going to be there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Yep, Paul.
Shenanigans.
What's the weather? Depending on the weather.
It's probably going to be snowing.
Yeah. I heard 70 degrees.
Shit show. Oh my God. Don't even say that. The weather's actually supposed to be nice. I checked it.
70 degrees.
No,
Yeah.
for me, not you guys. It'll probably snow here.
It's
Well, we're not too far away from you there. Snowing. Yeah, we get it.
It's supposed to be warming up now, Jamie. It's not supposed to snow anymore.
Do,
I
do you
get
know
it.
the only state that has not had snow for every month of the year is Hawaii? Every other state has. At some point, it probably
At some
melted off.
altitude, okay, yeah, all right.
It probably melted off, but Hawaii is the only state that has not had snow every month of the year.
Oh, Kimberly's gonna have a nice ride, Lake Michigan from Ontario, Canada. What do you say that, Julie? Where
Canada.
Canada. Yeah, Canada. She's a Canadian Canuckie. Canuckie. Are you done with your nails now, Denise? We will. I said, are you done with your nails now?
Well, I was gonna do it in the morning. I'm like, well, screw it. If we're gonna stay up this late, I'll just do it now.
Well, shit,
I
Denise.
have a big party tomorrow. I'm hoping to show up to rally with my Stanley Cup champion shirt on.
Yeah, I hope for you too.
I hope we
We'll
do
root
it
for
tomorrow
'em.
when we're at home.
Denise,
well-
you know it's already Sunday. I mean, the game is coming real
We're
soon.
leaving here at noon, so I don't know. Me and Allie partied all night, so I've only slept a few hours, so I got to get up early tomorrow. And
Yeah,
my birthday
I didn't
bash
get that invite.
Well, my birthday bash, I went to sleep. I had a couple glasses of wine and I was out.
And Allie just did her own thing.
Sit to me. But hey, it's great.
Yeah, I didn't mean to be rude and just sit here like do my nails. I was trying to be part of the conversation.
No worries. No, it was a lot of fun.
You're great.
Trying to multitask.
A lot of fun to have everybody here.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
Like this more often with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'm so glad all of you were agreeable to. I kind of put this together kind of short notice, so thank you all for taking time, making time.
problem.
Well, no problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. Oh,
This is awesome, Rick.
Yep, thank you.
Justice is saying
can't wait
thank
to
you
see all
too.
of you, except for Jamie at Rally.
Maybe I'll be with us in
We all-
heart.
Honestly, you guys don't.
If I can just say,
But,
You guys do know how bad it kills me that I can't.
But then you have the fact that you're very proud in the achievements of your daughter to
Yes.
compensate. So right?
Yes, things are going very well now, but there's still we've got some leaps to go through.
Right on.
Julie
Well, hey,
wants to say something.
you're missed. We'll miss you, but obviously we'll still be connected with you through social media and all the
I
ways.
know. I already told him he's on speed dial. He was texting me the other night. He's like, "You better stay in touch." I'm like, "Don't worry. We can do a Discord call for the whole weekend so you can see everything, whatever you want to
Yeah,
do."
there you go.
Yeah, and then
You'll be with us in
afterwards, I get to take Julie out for dinner when she comes through this way.
There you go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So she gets to tell me all the shit show that you guys do at the rally house. I get to hear all the dirt.
You are taping that stuff.
Calling it real world Manitowoc.
I think there's gonna be a lot of. I think there's gonna be a lot of drunk stories. But anyway.
Yeah. There'll be a
Hey,
lot of-
Linda, am I still supposed to bring the pogo stick?
Yeah. Yeah.
We have an adult-sized pogo stick in the garage. Linda's like, "Bring it, I'll do that." I'm like, "Oh, good God."
It's a gas mower one, man. Boom.
So since you guys have the pogo stick, should I just send a bunch of grapes and you guys can make your own wine?
Oh my God.
no, we'll put them all in a vat and we'll take off our shoes and do a Lucille Ball.
No, don't worry about it. I gathered up all the wine that the Gilters had all this whole year. I took care, got it all.
Right?
Finn just said, everybody will break their necks. Yeah.
Oh my
I
God.
think-
When
I
people
think
mess
pogo
with
stick.
it in our garage, we're out there singing karaoke. We'd been drinking all night and people would try to do it. I've never laughed so hard in all my life. I couldn't do it sober, let alone drunk. I mean, get the hell out of town.
No, I think you better keep it at
Hey,
home because otherwise my Jello shot.
There's no room in the car for that. No,
There
no.
you go, Finn.
Oh, there you go, Finn. There's your
Finn, do
shirt.
you see?
Can you see
There
it?
you go. Says Finn.
Yep, I got it.
Nice. Where's mine?
Yay.
I got a whole pile of shirts here. It's so awesome.
Yeah, she showed us a pile of shirts.
You probably have mine too.
I do. Yes.
I just
Hey,
showed it on
Allie,
camera,
what are
but
the
I don't know if you
shirts
were
that you
watching.
guys that you have?
What?
What?
Oh, Fen Rally.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, mine says Bobby Ross. Says Linda K. Bobby Ross on it. So,
Mhm. Allie. How boring is that?
oh gosh. Well, we know you're not boring, Allie.
Where's Tracy's shirt? I want to see Tracy's shirt.
Basically a lawyer.
Yeah, I don't have a wrecking crew shirt.
Yeah.
I don't have an official rally shirt.
It's the marathon.
Julie.
Marathon crew.
Last night, me and Allie were jacking around, and I was like, "Oh my god, if I had time, I would have a Pommier vitamin shirt made for you." Allie's like, "Yeah, and I'll get like this old beat up white shirt with the Sharpie and write Allie's vitamins on it."
And I got my Jello shirt.
We were dying. Oh, we had fun. Favorite, quick.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well, I got the Jello shirt outfit right there, so don't worry.
You know the funniest
Oh,
part
we're
is that when you say Pommier, it makes me think of Kanye.
That's
It
where it
was
came from.
supposed to.
Oh, I love that bit. Yeah,
That's where it came from.
Like way back when we first started when we were first in Discord, me and Julie and T were in chatting and whatever, and I don't know. Julie was all jacked up about something, and then she said something about him and Kanye, and I was like, "Oh, you know Kanye?" I'm like, "I'm gonna start calling you Pommier." She's like, "You better not." So when me and Allie started jacking around with the vitamin thing, the first thing that came to mind was Pommier. Julie's like, "How the hell did I get dragged into this?"
I know, it wasn't even part of the conversation.
Is Stacy in chat?
People were saying hi to him, but I didn't see him say anything.
I didn't see him, and people were saying hi, and I said hi too.
And then Catnet said that she's blocked, but I'm not seeing Stacy at all.
Stacy's not in there. I said hi to him too. He didn't say hi back. So
yeah,
I did see Stacy in Messenger. He's probably going to be joining Paul and Mark and I tomorrow for a talk.
Oh, cool.
But I'm not seeing him in the live chat either.
Thank you, T1.
So.
Yeah, T, I lived through it. I'm glad. I guess I'm counting my blessings. He's not going to be at rally because I think I would have to bring oxygen, and you might want to be on
You're not going to be at rally.
ambulance.
What the hell are you pulling?
What?
What
are you saying, Linda?
I said it's a good thing that T probably isn't coming because he would probably have me on oxygen, and you'd need to speed dial up, an ambulance because he kills me. He just
I thought you were saying that Stacy
just make sure he
wasn't
keeps
going to
the
be
ball
around.
gag in. Did we get that ball gag made up yet? Anyway,
where's mine?
Oh God,
mine.
I
don't
threw
know where
mine out.
went.
Otherwise, I'd bring it.
Mine's lost. No, mine's right. It went off.
I remember talk of one being made with the Wrecking Crew symbol or something.
I could probably make
Could you
that happen.
imagine if that was up and like in your merch there was a ball gag? Oh my!
I could probably make that happen, but it's not going to be on the Zazzle website.
We'll put in brackets right next to it for Gilter.
For Gilter's. There you go. I like that one. Gilter's ball gag. You can write it right on there. Here you go. We got you a present. Oh, gosh. We kind of took us sideways.
I think we've had enough fun. I think we're getting slightly off the rails. I think a lot of people are tired. So I think we're going to go ahead and call it there, folks. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for being here and participating.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening to us be crazy and talk about this stuff. So, hey, thank you so much, everybody.
It's been fun. Thank you.
If you haven't already, please hit subscribe.
Tracy,
And
thanks.
the bell.
Good night.
Okay, you're welcome. No problem.
Everybody
Bye, guys. Love you.
Good night.
See you at rally.
Bye.
Bye.